All right, I've got a cross country meet. I'm gonna escape. You good?
And escape fast, I assume.
Well, I would say no, I'm not good, but it seems like nothing's changed, so I'll be as good as I was, you know. Year and a half ago. Yeah, go to your meeting.
What,
I
What
have
would-
Jasmine saying she can't get on.
okay.
Forrest is forwarding a new link right now.
Okay. got it.
Yeah, there's gonna be a little delay.
Jasmine at Castle Valley City.
Jan D. JAZ,
Is it
JAZ.
Jasmine D?
At CastleValleyUtah.com.
Is it .gov? Yeah.
Hey, Michael, Jasmine, everybody, we just had to send out a new link to the meeting, so we're just waiting for a couple more folks to join.
Cool. So I'm in the right spot then?
Yes,
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining, Deborah and everyone else. We're gonna get started in just a moment. You are in the right place.
all right, don't forget to unmute.
Just did.
Hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hello, Jasmine and Colette. So today's an agenda focused mostly on discussion, and the appointed board members are outnumbered by the ex officio members, so have at us. We'll begin with introductions. It is now 3:15, and we will begin the meeting with welcome. And I think most everybody has met or seen everyone else by Zoom, if not before, but I'd like to start in the room with Amy Weiser.
Yeah, hello, I'm Amy Weiser. I'm the new planning director here at the county, and I know most of you, or have met most of you, but I don't know Deborah McKee. Hi. And maybe, I can't see the name. One other
Colette.
person. Hi, Colette.
So Amy has returned to public service here in Moab. She was a city planner for a while. The artistic gene kicked in and she was the executive director of the Moab Music Festival for a while. And now she's back here, so we're glad for that.
Thank you.
Let's go around the room. Cassie, if you would introduce yourself.
Cassie Oliver, the Executive Director of the Moab Chamber of Commerce.
Okay. Ben Alter.
Hi, Ben Alter, Assistant Director of Economic Development. It's my first day back on the job. Welcome back. Happy to see you all. Thank
And
you.
welcome back, Ben.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Chris.
Chris Wilson, member of the board, Perf Coffee.
Michael, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, Michael Black with the city of Moab.
Jasmine?
Sorry, I'm munching. I got bored of waiting. So Jasmine Duncan, Mayor of Castle Valley and a non-voting member of this board.
And then Colette?
Good afternoon, everyone. Colette Cox with the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity. I manage the rural outreach team, including Deborah.
And Deborah?
Deborah McKee. I am the new outreach manager for Grand County, also San Juan, Carbon, and Emory. And I'm also at the Energy Summit up here in the Uinta Basin. So if it gets crazy up here, just letting you know if I have to step away.
If it gets crazy, as in the power grid goes down?
Right, right.
Okay,
Exciting
Okay.
things up here.
and remind everyone where you're based right now.
So I currently reside in Monticello, so just down the road. I'm happy to be, serving Grand because I can come in person next time. I'm not at a conference. I think the last meeting I was at a conference too, so I'm hoping to get there in person and meet everybody. I've met a few of you, but really looking forward to getting involved as much as possible.
We'll be glad to have you back in present at our next meeting. This is an opportunity to report any conflicts of interest, disclosures, or ex parte communications. Seeing no indication that anybody needs to report anything, we have no citizens to be heard and no presentations to be made. We do not have a quorum, so we're going to defer action on the minutes of the last two meetings, July 31 and August 13, and to the next meeting. And then we have the opportunity to jump into some discussion about the Trail to Tomorrow strategic plan that was presented about a month ago to the county commission. And I had the opportunity to sit in on that presentation. My observation was that this is a very comprehensive plan with a very long list of goals and strategies and organized around the three pillars. I have some other thoughts, but let's just begin by seeing if anybody has general comments about the plan, what they've seen in it. Now, I know that earlier on I circulated the presentation of the plan that was presented to the county commission, and then subsequently Ben Frederigill broke into the safe and found the access to the full 160-page plan. So that had been sent to people, and I will send it again after this meeting. But I thought this would be an opportunity, and I know that Ben has memorized, Ben Alter has memorized the plan, so he'll be ready to jump in. So the first item of business is really to get some general reactions to it, responses to it. Get those, we'll have those recorded, and then focus on areas of concern or confusion. I think this will be helpful, remembering that our new bylaws put front and center this board's responsibility for advising and providing counsel to the department and thereby through them to the commission. So I know that Ben Frederick has been going flat out for some time. I know that he's been involved with a lot of the in-person discussions with the consulting team. But this is, I think, this month and next month will be an opportunity for us to give some feedback to Ben and then indirectly to the commission. And just before we start, I want to give a special thanks to Colette and Deborah for their assistance in helping us finalize certifying the final reports for the 2024 Rural County Grant. So thank you both for that. So the floor is open. If you're online, you can raise your hand or use the chat key. And I'll just stop talking and see where we go.
I'll just start by saying I have very briefly looked at this. And so I don't know the background on it. I don't know who the consultant was. I don't know how long this went on. I don't know how much maybe planning and zoning was talked to or wasn't talked to. So I'm just getting my hands on it. I did notice that I think it gave three pathways, yeah, and the biggest one seemed to be housing, which is no surprise. So I just don't know how much this coordinated with all the other housing discussions going on, or so those are just some of my initial reactions and questions, and but otherwise it seemed kind of broad to me. So, but I only have a 31-page thing. You just mentioned 160 something, so maybe I don't have it all.
The 31-page document that I circulated a couple of days ago is actually the presentation that was made to the commission.
So where's the actual thing?
I will send you the links to that after we're done.
I would really love it if that could get online somewhere.
Well, it's online somewhere. It's just not easy to find.
Yeah, because what Ben sent us is the 31-page.
He sent, there's one of the, I think it's the last one there.
Oh, this situation analysis, because the weird thing was the first thing I opened that was 31 pages.
Yeah.
Has a little note. The situation analysis document provided as a companion document. Okay, provides in-depth reporting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have not read that.
I haven't either in a month or two, so.
I've only perused the 31-page, so I have no further comments.
Yeah. To answer your question, and Chris can set me straight if I'm not being completely clear. This process started as a discussion in May or June of 2022.
Okay.
At a time when the legislature authorized Grand County's shift in the proportional allocation of TR2 monies to tourism promotion and tourism mitigation. And that was under the rubric of diversification, which a year later was sunsetted by the legislature.
Okay.
And so there was 2022, 2023 were sort of a crush for spending money on diversification. Ben and the former director, August Granoff, worked that first year of diversification. And then there were changes in leadership in the department. The legislature essentially suspended the authorization for that allocation. And so this board had been sort of a corollary to that process. Once Ben was hired, we were able to the department was able to pull the starter on the strategic planning process itself. And in that longer document, well, even at the end of the 31-page document, there's summary of all the participants, the stakeholder groups that were held, group meetings that were held, et cetera.
Great.
So, and that's what we got, that's how we got here. Does that make sense, Ben? Krista, is there more to add to that?
Sounds pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the context. And Lisa was, Elisa, your predecessor was involved serving as a member, an ex officio member of this board.
Okay,
And at the same time, I'm assuming that she was involved in several of those meetings with key stakeholders.
great.
I just don't know how much she was involved.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
So that's the context. And Deborah and Colette, I don't know if you've seen either versions of the report. No, you haven't.
Yeah, and I attended the presentation as well. I believe Colette was there. Also, we were both logged on virtually when they
Okay.
presented to the commission. So,
Okay.
I haven't seen the written report. I haven't gone through it, so.
We'll inflict that on you. It's only 167 pages or thereabouts.
It's nighttime reading for me. I love it.
Yeah.
Whenever something's that long, I always say, did they get paid by the page? What? Yeah.
Chris?
Forrest, I actually did watch most of the presentation, but I don't know if it was at the end of it. Did the commission formally adopt the plan?
That's one of my concerns.
Okay,
Okay.
The commission accepted it,
yeah,
but did not formally approve or adopt it.
okay.
And Mary McGann will join us in a bit, and she might have some update on
Okay,
that.
great, thanks.
Because from the beginning, I believed it was important that this be the commission's plan.
Yeah.
And not the department's plan, not Ben Frederick's or Ben Alter's plan.
Yeah.
That it has to be embraced by the commission. And it was a lot for them to absorb in that hour.
Yeah, I mean, it
So-
sounded like a very positive reception in general,
Exactly.
I would say, but yeah, I do think that's important, you know, because it also then becomes like directive orders for us.
Right.
As, I mean, I think we've oftentimes, you know, we all have our own ideas on what to prioritize in terms of economic development, but this makes it an official county policy in an important way, I think.
Exactly. And for Amy and other department heads especially, because what struck me in my reading was that 36 of the verbs in all of those strategies and goals were seek, support, or consider. So, and those are action verbs, but they're not action verbs like target, create, Yeah, and of course, that's because it can't be done by the department alone, it can't be done without it being a priority for the county, as designated by the commission.
Yeah.
So, and Michael, I don't know whether you've had any chance to glance at or dive into this, but there are several references to collaborate or seek county involvement. But I don't know how much you or the mayor were directly involved in the process.
Yeah, not too much, but I have it now. I've briefly gone through it. But I will go through the whole thing and we can have a discussion about how to collaborate.
Yeah. Jasmine, have you had a chance to absorb some of it?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through the 31 page thing and I'm going through the 160 whatever page thing as well. I was noticing like just exactly what you just said. There weren't any like very specific actions. It was all more like, yeah, consider this or which seemed a little strange to me, just because I thought we were seeking some more like solid clarity or direction from the planning process. Clearly they can't just give us all the things to do to solve all these things, right? And also a lot of it definitely, it's not new. None of it seemed really new to us, like housing. We have had and are going to continue to have issues with housing. The sentiments that people have towards tourism one way or the other, I think just none of it seemed really new. Where we go with that, I think one thing that I picked up on was kind of the way people felt about the quality of tourism or the quality of visitors. It seemed like there may be an opportunity there for the county to be promoting more guided type experiences. That was one thing I thought about that stuck out. I'm not finished with the 160 page thing in any way, shape, or form, but it may be
You're
we
well,
have to revisit this.
well, you're well ahead of us in starting it, so E for effort. I think the consultants had a difficult challenge. And I know that this board has been kept apprised of the progress, and individual members have. I don't know the degree to which the Travel Council Advisory Board has been involved in this. And certainly there were opportunities for them to participate in the stakeholder groups, especially the industry specific stakeholder groups. So I don't know what kind of reaction or response they've had to it. But it's very, I guess I was trying to say earlier, it's very soft in terms of specifics. And for strategies, that's okay. The goals are just a lot of them. I was sort of disturbed by the number of them. And then therefore the challenge of deconstructing each of the three pathways to try to figure out what should rise to the top. The other thing is using words like support, consider, the other was encourage, struck me as a reflection of the fact that we're still building an ecosystem for building capacity. Both from businesses, from private sector and the not-for-profits, and within the constraints, the bandwidth constraints that the county and city staff have.
I mean, one way to flip it a little bit, because I agree with all the takes that have been on the plan and what's been given in the report so far, but one way to flip it is that it gives us as a board an opportunity to take on the role that we push for in the changes of our bylaws to make it very clear that one of our roles would be advising the commission on policy issues, and to use this report and all the information and stakeholder engagement that went on to create it as, you know, backing for some of the things that we think should be the top priorities, basically. I mean, right? So there's a lot there, but I think we maybe better situated to help sort of parse through it and say, what are the things that are suggested that are, you know, new, different, and useful, that ought to be prioritized, and, you know, acknowledge things like, yeah, we all know housing is really important. There's already this, that, and the other thing that are going on there. So, you know, we should ask the question, can we add some extra support to something like that? But if not, then you let that go and we pick a different area to focus our time and energy on. And there is, I mean, there really is enough there to identify things that I think could be really useful, basically. I mean, the area that I'm most interested in is the sort of tourism adjacent industries area. I mean, I think that's, I think it's a really interesting area. I think that they did a good job of setting up a few of the things in that space. And, you know, a lot of them are things that we've already talked about in terms of supporting entrepreneurship locally. So that's what the chamber's already involved in, and we put forward a grant application this year to help do a better job of, you know, the food incubator and sort of food and agriculture space, I think, is one where they offered a little bit of sort of support, but to me, there's like a huge opportunity there, a much bigger opportunity than what they recognized. And I think several other things, you know, but I think that's where maybe we can do sort of what you suggested in that setup for this meeting at some point, whether it's now or when more members are present, but sort of set up some subcommittees to really drill in on some of those areas. And then, I mean, I think what we would need to do, especially if the plan isn't going to be, as a whole, isn't going to be adopted as county policy, would be put forward a series of sort of more targeted recommendations that could be acted upon by the commission and us.
Yeah, that's a great point, Chris. And yet, when you just look at the purpose of the plan, it's also very general. And so it seems like it's more of a report on what's happening and what they've identified as the biggest hurdles or reasons for what's going on. But it almost seems like, yeah, this group or a number of groups could say, okay, here's what we think are the action items from this plan. I agree with Chris. And maybe that needs to be formally recognized with this plan, because I feel like the plan is, like he said, it's just a lot of information, but it's sort of just, here's what we've found, not how do you deal with that.
I feel like that was kind of their purpose with this. It wasn't to give us like clear direction. It was to give us all the information.
Okay.
And then throw some ideas out there and then let the county decide. I was in a couple of the steering committee meetings, and that's basically what they stated. I like the information in there because it's something, it validates everything that everyone has been saying and feeling. Right. And so it lets us know that the things that we have been feeling and thinking are falling in line with what the locals feel and also what the tourists feel. And so I think that that's something that we can really like take that and use this when we're like, hey, this is our plan, and say, and this is why this is our plan. Right. And so I would find that really helpful when we're talking in the community and talking to the commissioners.
Yeah, Jasmine?
Sorry, I was trying to find the little hand raise thing and I'm not doing it. So I'm assuming that the county has a general plan as well. Does it not have a section for economic development that this could be worked into?
Does have a section. I can't remember how extensive it is. I'll pull it up while we're talking.
Because it makes sense to me that this be, you know, the action items that we come up with from this just be incorporated into the general plan that is adopted, that, you know, is required to be adopted.
Now, to Cassie's point, I was struck by the number of recommendations or what they called strategies that are things that we as a board have already been talking about. And the county's been investing in the chamber and its work over the last 2 years and into the next year. The Community Land Trust is doing their work. And so I think that it does, as you said, it sort of reinforces the experience that people have. And that gives us some more work to do. And to Chris's point, it's exactly what we said this board should be doing. Yeah. Hello, Melissa.
I thought it was a replay of our last one a couple of weeks ago. I'm so sorry. Thanks for your patience.
Well, you're here. That's what counts. I think you know most people. You may not have met Deborah McKee from the state of Utah. She's our regional consigliere based in Monticello. And Amy from the planning and the new planning director who's joined us. And you know, everyone else, and I don't know if you've noticed Ben Alter sitting at the table.
I did. Hi, Ben.
Yeah, he was a unrestricted free agent, and Ben Frederigill captured him, so we're excited about that. We've just been talking generally, general reactions to what I had circulated, which is the presentation the consultants made to the commission about a month ago. And Chris had asked what the outcome of that was and whether the commission adopted the plan or accepted it. And Mary has just joined us, so that will be one of the first questions for her. To get a sense of how that, what followed after the presentation. Whatever she's willing to share about that. So Amy was doing some research. What did you find? Amy?
That's a very good question, Jasmine. So a lot of times in the general plan, you'll have sections or chapters. And some are required by the state and some aren't. You can kind of elect. So there's a section on sustainability, a section on land use, which we're updating right now. Transportation, utilities, parks and recreation, environment, healthy economy. Pages 110 through 116. So it's got 6 pages. And it might even say you need to do a study, kind of looking. Anyway, it is in the general plan, Jasmine, section 11. So that is something to take a look at as far as should this document be more incorporated as a document to the general plan, or should a document be written from this report that would, right? Yeah.
To this section.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty.
I mean, that would be a format by which we could put forward a recommendation to the commission.
Yeah,
And be
exactly.
using this template and modifying it in ways that, you know, whatever's missing based on the trails farm plan.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So Melissa, we've been talking about general reactions to the plan from different perspectives. You may have received from Ben a couple of links to both what I distributed earlier this week or last week and the full 100+ page plan detail. And so I'm going to try to summarize the general comments, general reaction. Seems to be the verbs used seem to be pretty soft and indirect. there are no real directives in terms of the recommendations of strategies and goals. Chris pointed out there are a lot of things that we've been talking about. And Cassie observed that it provides some backup to whatever recommendations we might want to put forward. And the suggestion was looking to put some of those recommendations forward to the commission as amendments or additions to the county's general plan. Did I capture that?
Mhm.
So any thoughts? Jasmine shared hers. Amy?
I did just find some actions from the general plan for the economic development.
Yeah.
And it does say an economic forum was planned in 2022, data gathering and analysis, review reporting. So it's talking about maybe what just happened, this report, right? It does say, yeah, it talks about meeting a strategic plan. So develop an economic master plan that considers all partners and interests and establishes important updates to the general plan. So I think back to Jasmine's point, it might be that Trails to Tomorrow leads to updating the general plan. Yeah,
Exactly.
okay. There we go.
Well, I have a thought that goes a little bit beyond just what we have on the table today, but is very much linked to it. I've just, there's been all the talk recently and concern about TRT revenue and how it's been spent and how it will be spent here. And I think it, brings up in certain ways some of the challenges that are in terms of how our community relates to tourism, basically. I feel like we have this set of ideas of things to do to promote economic development. And not all of them are about promoting tourism, right? Like that's very clear that not all of them therefore could be funded with TRT revenue. That's very clear. But some I think might be able to be, right? And it seems to me that there may be an opening for an important discussion about how the county going forward uses TRT revenue, right? There's a question mark, like, are trail ambassadors an acceptable use of it? I don't know, and the commission will ultimately decide, and this in conjunction with the state, whether that's an appropriate use or not. But maybe the commission would like to have a set of alternatives of things that if we're not going to spend money on that, if we can't do that, that this is something that does meet the guidelines. And I spent a minute sort of reading through them again. We've all seen them before, but it's where there's the first section of it, which is under the unrestricted part of what TRT revenue can be spent on, is for establishing and promoting tourism, recreation, film production, conventions, right? Establishing and promoting, to me, at least in my reading of it, does not just mean promoting.
Right.
It also means establishing, right?
Exactly.
And establishing tourism, I think that there are a lot of things that are found within the space of this, of the Trail to Tomorrow that could potentially fit within that.
Right.
And there would need to be a discussion about whether that's appropriate or not, or the best use of commission of county dollars anyway. But I don't know, it seems to me, it does strike me as an opportunity, and could be an important part of sort of how we think about how to advise the commission moving forward on issues of economic development. Given the sense, just the sense that some of that might be in flux right now.
Right. Right. We will be eligible to Melissa?
Well, no, I was just gonna ask, and if this has been covered, please don't feel like you need to update me because I was late to the party. Following on what Chris said, I guess what I'm really curious about is you've got the Trail to Tomorrow report. Is Ben's plan or the department's plan now to come up with an actionable plan in response to those recommendations? Meaning, so they have the overall guidance, right? Is their intention now to develop a strategic plan, or have they already developed a strategic plan to be able to implement those recommendations with actionable items that they're trying to focus on for 2024? Because I feel like that would be the really good. So for example, do they have a plan to address tourism adjacent businesses? Because I'm curious about how we can support them. So you have the travel council, the travel advisory board, but then you have the economic development advisory board. And I'm really curious about what their plans are for expanding on tourism adjacent businesses. Do you know what their plan and their strategy is now that they have that plan in hand?
To my knowledge, they are not yet at that point. Ben Frederill has been staffing up to move in that direction. And I think the discussions we've had earlier today, it lead us to believe that actually we have the opportunity now to provide some of those recommendations to Ben and to get moving on those action items that are the highest priority. We can make recommendation. Our responsibility would be to make recommendations of those priorities. And we can do work around that. We said earlier that a lot of what's in there are things that we've all been thinking, things that we've actually started some work on, and some of them are activities that we've already secured funds for. So I think, as Chris was just saying a moment ago, this is our opportunity to actually help shape the department's approach and help them prioritize. Is that what you said, Chris?
I think that's absolutely part of it, yeah.
Ben Alter is shaking his head, or nodding his head, so. And Melissa, you may not know that today is Ben Alter's first day back at the Economic Development Department, so.
I'm back, Ben.
Thanks. Good to be back.
I'm excited to work with you again.
Likewise.
So do we go further today in discussing this? Do we give people more time to actually dive into that plan and start focusing on the priorities that we want to pursue? What I had suggested earlier, and Chris reinforces, after we've sort of cleared our minds of what we've seen in it, what we see is missing, and how we want to shape it, then we work in small subgroups of the board to tackle the 3 different pathways. And that seemed, well, nobody stood up and threw anything at Chris or me, so that seems to be the right next step. Cassie, are you gonna say something?
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with you. I think that, as everyone stated, it gives a ton of information and a lot of different ways to go, and there is so much that we can do with it. And I think, as with any government entity, that when you don't have a solid vision of where you want to go, you don't go anywhere. And I think this could really help the county get a solid vision of where we want to go economically and actually get there.
And what I was starting to say earlier is we will have an opportunity through the spring, through the winter and spring, to start formulating ideas for the 2025-26 Rural Counties Opportunity Grant and the 2025 Rural County Grant. So, you know, there's some great opportunities there, to the point that Chris was making, that it's not just promotion, not just advertising. Ben?
I need to be refreshed. Are we not eligible to apply to the Rural Community Opportunities Grant for this fall?
Yes.
Okay, so we submitted a project last year.
Yes.
Was that with Mackled?
Yeah.
Again, because
Thank
they
you.
hadn't spent it down, we weren't eligible to reapply this year.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I mean, I wonder, Forrest, if, and maybe it's too early for this, if we want to just wait until we're ready to create the subcommittees. That would make sense potentially also, but I'm starting to brainstorm, like, what's the directive to these subcommittees? Like, what do we want? I mean, they will be us, but what do we want us to do
Yeah.
once we break up into groups? And I mean, it seems to me that some of the things, I'm just trying to capture what we've been doing already in the conversation, but that one of the things would be to provide potential updates to the language of the general plan economic section. One thing might be to like convene meetings with relevant stakeholders to the implementation of some of these issues. So, I mean, on housing strikes me as the obvious place for something like that, right? Like, you know, I mean, what I see in terms of housing is like through this plan, Economic Development Department and all of us that sort of support the Economic Development Department and activities around there in the county are sort of just being reminded that housing should be one of our top priorities because it's so key. It's one of the key bottlenecks to economic development. And so like, yeah, maybe we should, you know, invite some of the folks from the housing task force into a meeting with some of our board members and see, you know, remind them about the grant opportunities that are related to economic development, and just sort of make sure we're moving together in the same direction. I mean, and then there may be, I don't know, I guess I'm just trying to think of like, what are the things that we ought to ask the subcommittees to do? I mean, there may be other policy recommendations that they want to put forward to the commission, et cetera.
Right.
I think if we had time to read the whole 160 odd pages, it would give us a really good idea to like come back, and if we all do that, come back with ideas on, like a committee on this, and this is why, and this is what I hope the outcome would be of that committee. I think that would be a lot easier than trying to do it before we've read all of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's been, Frederick Gill is attending the Tourism Industry Association annual conference, so he's not here. And we will want to know, we want him to be able to answer Melissa's question about, you know, what's important to you. So in a general sense, our work may be done here for today. We'll give people an opportunity to do some reading. And we'll put out an agenda. I'll talk with Ben. We'll put out an agenda. I love your ideas about the charges to the different work groups. And give some more thought to that if you would, so that we can start the next, after we've had a more in-depth debrief of the report, then we can make it clear what the different work groups would be tasked with. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, Melissa? I'm sorry.
Colette has her hand up.
Oh, Colette?
I just wanted to offer a piece that Deborah and I can help with as you're going into these subgroups and working on specific topics, is just to help you connect to the regional and state resources that apply to the housing, the infrastructure, the tourism, and just making sure that as you're working on that strategy, that you're including any available resources from the state to really compound the impact that you can make. And then also one thing I would suggest too is that we do have our Unified Economic Council from the governor. And I would really say too, just if there are any points of alignment, to make those connections as well. Because again, typically our economic development strategy from the state level has funding behind it. And so if it's with our targeted industries specifically, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think our work is done for today, but we leave with a lot of homework. So, Ben,
I have some small housekeeping items.
thank you.
I've lost track of how this body is structured. Do we now have enough people to approve meeting minutes?
No,
Okay,
not yet, because we have some people missing.
great. If we're down to consideration of future agenda items, you had a question for me and I have an update on that, if you'd like me to share it.
Absolutely, please.
Yeah, so in preparation for this meeting, Forrest asked me to provide an update on the county commission's discussion around the $360,000 that were provided to USU Small Business Development Center. And we have Mary, so Mary might be able to shed some more light on this, but I spoke with Quinn before this meeting and he told me that currently the commission's discussion has landed on continuing with that funding with the SBDC, having those funds remain there rather than take them back. That's not a final decision. I believe currently that is working its way through the attorney right now. So I don't believe it's going to be on any agenda anytime soon, but it sounds like the commission has discussed it. And right now the sentiment is to leave those funds with USU and they have intentions to re-advertise the position.
It's a helpful update.
And I'll also add that Ben has offered to go by Freddie. And I've never really had a name other than Ben. So
So you're gonna keep that.
I'm gonna keep Ben. He's out of town, so that's on him.
This is like
Perfect.
when you join the Screen Actors Guild and somebody else has the same name, the
Mhm,
new person has to change the name.
yeah.
You're the new person, but you've made him change the
But in
name.
this case,
Well,
he's the
He's
absent
known by
person.
Freddie for many years in the past, but
Yes.
he goes, if you say Freddie, he will respond.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Frederico.
I'm not really new.
That's true.
You're on sabbatical.
You outdate,
Yeah.
you outdate Freddie.
Out Ben.
With that, I think we're adjourned. Well, I know we're adjourned. Thank you all. Michael, thanks for joining us. Jasmine, thanks for your contributions. Melissa, good to see you. Colette and Deborah, thanks so much for your counsel and help with our processing this week.
Mhm.
I'm looking
Appreciate
forward
it.
to meeting you all in person next time.
Likewise, Deborah.
Likewise.
Sounds great.
Take care.
See
everybody.
everyone.
Okay, we'll see you.
Thank you all.
Bye.